Hey everyone, this is Casual Fanatic.
Film reviews without the shoes.
I'm Luca, your casual viewer.
And I'm Cayman, your fanatic. How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. We got a new little setup going here, which is
Yeah.
pretty neat. But yeah, no. Other than that, I'm doing pretty good. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. Obviously you see the sun is shining. The temperatures is like in the mid 40s, upper 40s, so
Still a
beautiful.
bit of snow on the ground.
Snow on the ground, yeah.
Not last night, the night before is when Thursday night it snowed really hard.
Yeah, Thursday night it was like crazy. I think at my house we got like 9 to 12 inches of snow
Yeah.
that I was shoveling in the morning, and I was
That's
like, "Damn, this is
wild.
fucking a lot of snow."
I was at a bar trivia Thursday night, so I was like, it's gonna be rough getting home.
Was it? Was it bad?
Like
Because I know your car isn't that high off the ground, so it's
there was one road like right outside the bar where like the ice had piled up at one of the intersections, so there was like a huge divot
Ooh.
where it's like the road was down here but the ice was up here. But once I got past that, the rest of it wasn't too bad. Everyone was going like max 40 on the highway.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was blowing like crazy. Yeah. Well, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Um Obviously our last couple episodes have been separate. I was sick for a while but got over that and
Back to full health?
back to full health. So I'll celebrate by poisoning myself.
Yes, just a little bit. Very nice.
Yeah, what you been up to the past week?
Uh, Work has been kind of crazy. Wow, it's like a PEMB building that we're not even a part of, and we had to fast track it. And so we thought the fast track was a week earlier on Friday, and then on Monday we found out that it's actually going to be Wednesday because of the tariffs that are kicking in from the new president. So all the steel prices are going up, and we had to fast track it even more. So it was a little bit stressful. And then Tuesday I was gone to take an exam, which is that. And then yeah, here we are. And just
One of my projects is pre-engineered metal building, and I've had to send the drawings back 3 or 4 times because they're just like not following instructions.
the PEMB guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like on the first time, their openings just like didn't match our drawings at all. I was like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are looking at.
Hello? It's your one job. You get hired to make a PEMB building for us so that we don't have to design it.
And then the second time, all of them matched except one door. I was like, you need to fix this door.
My gosh.
And then the third time they sent it back, and they had fixed. Okay, so I'm sorry. The second time, one door was fixed, and then we also added a comment about on the window openings. We were like, make every dimension like a half an inch bigger, just for like, because like you can fill in if it's too short, but if it's too big, you can't. Yeah.
If it's too big, you can fill in. If it's too short, you can't do it.
Right.
Right.
So we're like, just add a 1/4 inch on each side so that it helps with like finishing the windows and stuff like that. And then they just didn't do that.
Wow.
So had to re-put the same comment on the third time.
Brutal.
Yeah.
So you know how it is. Yeah. How about you? How was your week?
My week's been pretty good. This past Friday, I guess not yesterday Friday, but last Friday, I sent a project out to permit. I think I might have mentioned that on the last episode. But yeah, this week has been basically trying to catch up on a different project because 2 Mondays ago, I kicked off a project, but on 2 Mondays ago, and then on that Friday is when the other project went out to permit.
Yeah.
Since I was focusing on the out to permit, I didn't get a whole lot done starting up that new project. So now I'm trying to catch up from last week.
Just how it is
Yeah.
in our field. Yeah. Well, besides us, having fun outside and working and, hopefully going skiing tomorrow. What are we talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about the 1982 movie Blade Runner.
Nice, nice.
Was directed by Ridley Scott, written by Hampton Fancher and David Webb Peoples, based on a novel by Philip K. Dick called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
And stars Harrison Ford, Sean Young, and Rutger Hauer. It had a estimated budget of 28 million and only ended up making about a little under 42 million. Didn't actually do all that well. It
Still a little bit of a profit, a few millions, almost.
well, but you also have to account
The
like
advertising and stuff.
marketing doesn't get accounted for in budget, so
Damn.
they maybe broke even, but probably not.
Wow.
But yeah, I think I was looking into it, and it's because also in 1982 The Thing came out and E.T. came out, and E.T. obviously is a much more family friendly movie, so a lot more people went.
Yeah.
So a lot of movies got the short end of the stick.
That's rough. This was one of them.
Yeah. But yeah, what did you think about Blade Runner?
Man, it's obviously filmed like what 1980.
It came out in 82, so
Oh.
it was probably filmed the year or two before that.
Wow. Okay, well, I was not a fan.
Really?
No, I mean, out of 5 stars, I think I gave it a 2.5.
Interesting.
Unfortunately, just something about it just didn't grasp me in any sort of way. I thought like the storyline, I guess it came from a book though, so I can't even give them credit for that, right?
I don't know how much they changed from the book, so
I was just gonna say, like, I like the plot practically overall,
yeah.
and here and there were like pretty cool things, but at the end of the movie, I was just like, okay, well, there's that.
All right.
Yeah, so I wasn't a big fan of it.
All right.
Yeah. How about you?
I love it.
Well,
I mean, I think it's a classic for a reason. I think it's
is
it's
it a
not.
classic?
Yeah, a lot of people like Blade Runner.
Oh, oops.
That's
Sorry,
why
guys.
that's why they made a sequel.
That's rough. But they made a sequel because they needed to make it better. That's why.
Uh,
Uh, and it was like it's like such a good like storyline that can be used to make so much from it. So I think that's the reason they made a sequel. I don't know, like for me, Blade Runner, like something about it just wasn't it. I don't know what it was. It was just not.
Interesting.
Yeah, very strange.
All right.
Huh.
Well, I guess we'll
So
do.
funny. Usually I'm like higher rating, and I'm like, this one just wasn't
I
it.
guess we'll do a summary and then we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Blade Runner is about a not really a detective, kind of like
Police officer.
a police assassin.
That's true, actually.
He doesn't really do any like
He helps
normal police work.
He helps retire people. Let's just say.
Deckard is tasked with finding what are called replicants, which are robots in. Well, I mean, I guess it's not the future now. In 1982, it was the future. The movie's set in 2019.
Yeah.
But these robots, like, obviously look exactly like humans, so they're kind of hard to find, and they have a specific test for, like, finding out if someone is a replicant or not. But Deckard's job is to go around and retire them, which just means kill them because they were sent off to be slaves on other planets, and some of them, like, revolted and killed a bunch of humans, so then it became illegal on Earth, so all of the replicants on Earth are being hunted by people called Blade Runners, which is what Deckard is. So yeah, he finds out about a group of, I want to say originally it was 6 replicants, but the police chief tells him that 2 of them died while they were getting here.
Yeah.
So there's 4 left that he has to go out and find. And the first one, I believe, there was a robot, a replicant called Zora, who worked in not really a strip club. It's like a bar
Exotic
slash
dance.
entertainment slash
Yeah.
just doing whatever. But kills her just right away. Actually, I think sorry. Before that, he gets invited to the Tyrell Corporation, which is the company that makes the replicants, because he wants to get more information about them or something like that.
Yeah.
And um he performs it's called the Voight-Kampff test, which we actually see earlier in the film. I'm going out of order. It's kind of difficult.
It's okay.
But earlier in the movie, we see it performed on some guy who ends up shooting the person who gives him the test, because it's just like a bunch of questions that are meant to like provoke an emotional response. So like I think he was asking the guy like, you're walking in the desert and you see a tortoise and you flip it upside down and it needs help, but you're not helping. And he's like, why wouldn't I help? Just random questions. But so he performs this test on Tyrell's assistant, whose name is Rachel, and finds out that she is in fact also a replicant, but whereas with normal replicants it takes like 20 to 30 questions to identify them, they said it took over 100 to know that Rachel was a replicant.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he goes off, does the job, kills Zora, who was doing some exotic performance with a snake.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that finds some like photos that were in her dressing room and goes back to his place. I think he talks to Rachel before he investigates the photos, right?
Don't know.
Yeah, ends up Rachel comes over to his place, and I think he pretty much tells her that she tries to prove that she's real because she has memories of her childhood, and he's like, those were implants. I read your files, I know all of your memories. And so obviously that's like devastating news to find out that you're not a real person.
Yeah, because she didn't know that she was a replicant.
Right.
That was like the thing.
And so she like storms out, and then I think that night he reviews the photos that he found and sees that, or maybe this is even before he shoots Zora, because I think in the photos he finds there's a picture of a girl with like a tattoo on like her neck / jaw.
Yeah.
And then I think Zora is that girl.
At one point he also like, well, is this before or after? Because he goes to the apartment of the guy that was being interrogated, that shot the official.
Right.
Went to his apartment, found like scales or something in his bathtub.
Yep.
With those scales, he went to the only guy in town.
I think that was after, because I think
Was that after?
the bathtub was also in the photo, and that's why he went to investigate there.
Oh, okay. I thought he went to investigate there because they knew who he was, so they went to his apartment.
That could also be.
I don't know.
This is a bad summary. I'm sorry, guys. Right. So after all of that,
I guess summaries don't need to be chronological, though.
It would help if they were, but yeah, I guess. After that, he gets attacked by Leon, who is the person who shot the investigator earlier in the movie. Rachel ends up killing Leon and saving Deckard. They go back to his place, and like Deckard drinks. He drinks a lot throughout the entire movie. He like constantly, yeah, for sure,
for sure. Even in the second sequel movie, he was an alcoholic. That's why we are drinking as well. What he was drinking.
But yeah. So then Deckard, he falls asleep for a second, and then Rachel starts playing the piano, and then he wakes up and she tries to leave, and then he like stops her and has sex with her, and we'll talk more about that scene later because it's really uncomfortable.
Very.
And then we see, in between all of this, we're also seeing scenes of the other two replicants, which are Roy and Pris, who go, I think Roy, actually before Leon dies, Roy and Leon go to someone who makes like eyes for replicants.
Yep.
And they're just like trying to find information, and the eye person tells them to look for someone named J.F. Sebastian. Pris goes to outside JF's like apartment or house or whatever. It's a building with multiple homes, but he's the only one living there. And runs into him, sort of flirts with him a little bit, gets invited inside, and then in between all of that, Leon dies. Roy shows up at Sebastian's apartment, and because he, I guess, like assembles them or helps design them or something. I'm not really sure what his job is.
Yeah, I think he's just a genetic designer
Yeah.
or engineer. So that's what they call
And
him.
he's got a lot of other like not really replicants, but like humanoid toys that he keeps his friends around his place.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Can you help us?" Because what they're trying to do is because replicants were designed because the theory was that emotions were what made replicants dangerous, and they thought that given enough time, even though they aren't given emotions, given enough time, they would develop their own emotions. So then replicants were designed with a 4-year lifespan that they didn't have enough time to develop emotions. And so these replicants that are on Earth are trying to figure out a way to prolong their lifespan because obviously they don't want to die. So Roy tries to see if JF Sebastian can help him with that. He's like, no, I can't. Probably only Tyrell, the head of the company, would be able to do that. And so they're like, okay, well, can you take us to him?
Can you get us in touch with him?
Right.
He's a hard guy to get a hold of.
Yeah. So then he eventually does. They head to the Tyrell building, and Roy talks with him for a little bit, tries to figure it out. Tyrell's like, "Wait, I promise there's nothing we can do. Like anything we tried to do to you now would result in you dying anyway."
Yeah.
And so Roy kills him.
In a crazy way.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Deckard, meanwhile, finds JF Sebastian's apartment. Pris is still there.
Yeah.
Goes up. They have a pretty short but intense fight scene. He ends up killing her. Then Roy shows up. They fight for a bit.
Quite a while. That was, much longer. Like double the time of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, so they all have like different purposes. Pris can fight, but she's like a pleasure model or whatever, so she's not really meant for that. But Roy was like in combat, and so he's like a lot stronger of a replicant.
Yeah.
And like really takes Deckard to town.
Yeah.
He ends up losing his gun. He like breaks a couple of Deckard's fingers. Is basically like chasing him around this abandoned apartment
It's like
building.
playing with him. I
Yeah.
think. Like playing with your cat and mouse kind of thing.
Ends up chasing him up onto the roof, and in an effort to escape, Deckard jumps across to a different roof, but he's like kind of slipping, holding on to some like steel girder thing.
Yeah.
Roy easily jumps across and then ends up saving him right before he falls. And then because Roy is at the end of his 4-year lifespan, he just ends up dying on his own.
After they talk, though.
Yeah.
They they chat for a while, and in this movie you hear Decker's thoughts, which is interesting.
Did you have voiceover in yours?
No.
What do you mean you hear his thoughts?
I just watched the regular movie. Like the movie also I think it starts with it, and every now and then when it's just like him, you like hear him like his thoughts.
So like voiceover.
Kind of, yeah. What?
I think you watched a different version of the movie.
I don't think I did.
I think you did.
It's the only one that's on
There's 2 versions on Amazon. Was yours called The Final Cut?
I don't know.
Because if it wasn't, you watched a different version. There's like 4 different versions of Blade Runner, by the way. Maybe that's why you didn't like it.
No, I watched the right one. I'm pretty sure. Keep going, sorry.
So as the rest of the police show up, there's another character that has been interacting with Deckard called Gaff, who is another police officer, and he basically like says, hey, we know Rachel is also a replicant, and obviously replicants have to die, so sucks to suck. And so he races back to his house. Rachel is still there. He gathers her and they leave. And that's the end of the movie.
Yep. Yeah, watch this one.
I don't think that's the right one, my guy. Hold on, let me pull mine up.
It's the BAFTA 3 times winner.
The final cut.
What the hell is that?
If you had voiceover, that means you watched the theatrical cut, because that's the only cut that has voiceover in it. That's kind of wild. Well, I'm interested because I've never seen the theatrical cut, so I am interested to hear your thoughts.
I wouldn't know what the difference is. Why would it be? What's the difference between theatrical and the final cut?
Well, I mean, one of them is that there's no voiceover in the final cut.
Weird. I didn't know there were multiple versions.
So there's the theatrical cut that came out obviously in '82, and then I think there was a director's cut, which is kind of a misnomer because Ridley Scott didn't actually make that cut. And then I think in 2007 he released the final cut, which is like more of his actual vision.
Weird.
And there's like 2 other cuts that I don't remember, but they're random and don't the
maybe,
3 main ones.
Maybe that's why I didn't like it that much then.
Yeah, I would assume so.
That could be. Weird.
Because yeah, my version that you could not hear Deckard's thoughts.
Well, you couldn't hear him like all the time. I think it was like maybe twice in the movie.
So maybe
At the very start too. Like he's like walking or like doing something and you can like hear him
when he like goes up to the bar to get the noodles or whatever.
Maybe.
Because I think that's the first scene. Isn't it?
I'm not sure exactly what happened.
Maybe that's like some mishmash, like a 4th cut that's not really the theatrical cut kind of a thing.
What the shit? Yeah,
that's
2 stars.
That's random. Wow.
2 stars now from 2 to 5 down to 2 because it's confusing which version you watch apparently.
Okay,
what the hell?
That makes sense why you didn't like it then, because from what I've heard, that cut is worse.
What the shit? That's crazy.
But yeah, so I guess we're through the summary, so let's take a quick break and then we'll dive into this.
And we're back.
And we're back.
So we figured out for sure that I watched the wrong version.
So
well, it's not the wrong version.
Not the wrong.
It's
It's
just
just a different.
it's the original version.
Yes.
I watched the right movie. Came and didn't tell me to watch a better version of this bad movie.
If you are planning on watching Blade Runner and have not seen it, make sure you watch the final cut. It is the best version of the film.
Yes. Alrighty. Well, take the lead on this one then.
Okay.
I don't think my notes will help at all then.
Well, I'm sure they're like, it's not completely different. I'm sure
It's
some
totally different.
It's a different movie entirely. Doesn't even have Harrison Ford in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did yours have the N-word in it?
Was that part of a voiceover?
I don't know.
Because I think I know what scene you're talking
It's like
about.
the very beginning.
Is it when he's in the police office?
Maybe yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of the voiceover, so that was not in mine.
That was like, KK was like in a different room and I was watching this, and that came up. She ran over. She's like, "What?" I was like, "I don't know. It wasn't me."
Yeah, so I guess I don't know how much of this applies to the version you saw, but my first note was I thought the opening crawl was a little cheesy. Like, I feel like it's not that big of a deal for me, because I'm like, I mean, like, Star Wars has an opening crawl and that's fine.
Oh yeah, I did.
But it just like,
yeah. So did 2049.
yeah, and I mean, honestly, that was a little cheesy too. I feel like movies where you have to like give someone a block of text at the beginning for them to understand what's going on, I'm like, there's a better way to do that.
Yeah, I get that, but at the same time, it's the most efficient way to get someone in the right mindset.
I guess.
They're just boom, right on it. They understand.
Also, I think the like Nexus models, like I'm trying to picture how quickly those advanced, because the opening text said early 20th century, early 21st century.
Yeah.
Which means after the year 2000, but the movie takes place in 2019 and they're already on Nexus 6. So like they went through 6 generations of this in 19
Yeah.
years, which like I guess isn't that crazy because like we are
iPhones.
yeah, but like iPhones and a fucking living robot are different things.
That's
And
fair.
they've already
But
had time to like ship them off to other worlds and have a mutiny and make it illegal and like it feels like it would have taken longer than 19 years for all of that to happen.
true, true. Unless those, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I could probably think of a way for it to happen, but if you just casually think about it, it's not.
For the first thing that I really did enjoy is I really like the glowing eyes effect that they give the
Yeah, like
replicants.
the retina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was achieved in camera.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I looked up how they did it and they basically just had like a camera and then like a two-way mirror in front of it at an angle and then a light over here. So it was like
Oh,
shining off of the mirror into the actor's eyes,
yeah.
but then the camera can't see the light, so it's only in their eyes.
Sick. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I going off of lighting, I really do like the lighting that old movies have.
Yeah.
Just something about it, like kind of like granular, like the darks are more dark. I feel like I don't know, something about just the lighting in those movies in the olden days.
I guess also on the topic of lighting, I really do like a lot of these scenes are lit with um like there's a lot of spotlights like shining through windows and stuff and you see like because there's
Lights always
like
like
a
running
blimp
across.
going through the city that has a bunch of lights
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
um and it kind of gives the movie has a very strong motif of eyes. Like they obviously like they go and visit the person who makes the eyes and like Tyrell has huge glasses which make his eyes
Yeah.
look bigger.
Which is hilarious because he's the eye guy.
Yeah.
Just give yourself new eyes.
I
Like,
don't know if you can put replicant parts into a human. There aren't any like hybrid people.
oh, that's fair.
Um,
Not yet, at least.
and like part of the test is like them having a camera that zooms in on your eye. Like there's a lot of eye imagery, and I feel like the spotlights are kind of like another part of that, where it kind of feels like people watching you with spotlights everywhere.
Mm. Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. The amount of like, this having been filmed in like 1980, let's say, the amount of forward thinking and making it look futuristically
Yeah,
with like the lighting, with like the cars and the tech they had. I enjoyed that part of the movie. Uh,
I think there is also a lot. It's not like a main like it's not a plot point in the movie, but a lot of the world building centers around like class differences and like this is not really ever made a big deal out of, but it is mentioned several times in the universe of Blade Runner. Almost all of the animals are extinct,
right.
and so everyone has like replicant animals. And so like every time like there are multiple scenes where someone would be like, is that real? And people are like, of course it's not real. Like do you think I'm a millionaire? What
Why?
do you mean?
Why are animals extinct? That doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, like I said, they never like
Oh, they didn't
explain it,
explain it. Yeah,
but
I don't know. Yeah, like all like trees, all green, like plants are all dead, right?
yeah, I don't know if they ever mention
Maybe they have grow
plants,
houses.
but um
Well, they at one point I thought one of them said like I've never seen a tree before.
that could be.
Someone asked the main character, forget his name currently, what like he's looking at, and he goes like it's a tree, and I think they were like, oh, I've never seen a tree before, or something like that
When were they looking at a tree?
in the picture at one point. I
You
don't
sure don't think
remember.
about the second one? 'Cause I know there's a tree in that one.
Well, I know there was a tree in that one. Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Where was I going with the fake animals thing?
I'm not sure.
What were you talking about?
I was talking about like how they made it look futuristic.
Right. Oh, right. Because I was talking about the difference in like societal classes
Right.
with like people not being able to afford real animals and that. And I think that also comes across in the because I did a project for this in school about the architecture of this movie and the second movie, but I'll leave that for next time. But I think that comes across in the architecture as well, in that every scene that takes place at street level is like you can't see the sky. Like the buildings are so tall, and like whereas in real life in a city there are laws about like you have to step back every certain height to make sure that sunlight can get there.
Yeah.
It's like the complete opposite in this city.
Just straight
Where it's
vertical.
either go straight up or like I think even in some of the backgrounds there are buildings that like step out over the street, and so it's like you just if you're on the ground sucks to suck.
Jeez.
And then you have like people like Tyrell who live in a pyramid like above everything else,
Right.
and those people can see the sky. And so it's just like it's kind of this like background thing, like I said, it's not part of the plot, but it's just like a really deep world building of noticing the differences between the rich people and the poor people.
Yeah, it's kind of like an underworld feeling.
Yeah.
I forget what movies those are, but there's an overworld and underworld, and like the people in the underworld are like, obviously not rich and taking care of all like the pipes and stuff. I forget what movie that is. We might have reviewed it. I don't know.
It's possible. There's also for anyone with Apple TV Plus, there is a show called Foundation, and the capital planet in that series also has a similar sort of thing where a lot of the people live like underground and they have like a virtual sky, like there's just a giant screen above them.
That's funny.
Yeah. I would also like to say as far as Rutger Hauer, who plays Roy Batty, I think he probably has the best performance in the movie. Like he did an amazing job, I think.
Who?
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
He was the strong replicant.
Oh, yeah, he did a great job. I mean, when they were fighting and yeah, he definitely gave me like the most emotional connection to anything in the movie throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, the feeling that he emits with his acting was definitely on point.
And his little like monologue at the end right before he died.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I
Uh,
watched the right one.
which a little behind the scenes, he wrote that himself.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There was originally a different monologue written for him, and
He was like, that's
she was like, this feels a little too complicated. And so he wrote his own, and it's fucking beautiful.
Wow, that's awesome. There's a lot of boobs in this movie. Again,
Not quite as much as Honora.
yeah, not as much as Sonora, but
there are boobs.
there are boobs. I mean, what is it with the last 3 movies or 2 movies now? They both have boobs.
Darn.
That's tough. Hope the viewers don't mind.
Oh, also on the topic of, because we don't get to talk about architecture on our podcast very much, but in Deckard's apartment, the tiling on his walls is based off of the blocks for Frank Lloyd Wright's Ennis house.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
yeah, that's neat. That's pretty cool. I didn't notice that.
Yep.
Did you notice that while you watched it?
I had to look up which house it was because Frank Lloyd Wright made, I think, 4 textile houses like that, and I couldn't remember which one it was, but I knew it was from him.
That's pretty neat. That's neat. I mean, yeah, back in the 1980s, he was popping.
Yeah.
He was a big,
But he, like I said, he made 4, what he called textile houses, which are just like, he designed one block and was like, we're just going to use this block to make the entire house. His goal was to make, like, good architecture more accessible to people. So he was like, rather than like having all of this intricate stuff, is like, we're gonna make one block and then you can make your whole house out of that and it'll like
done.
Yeah. But it's also like kind of intentionally ugly. I don't think the tiles are ugly, but I think Frank Lloyd Wright, I was reading an interview or something where he said that they were ugly blocks.
People love them.
But yeah, obviously I don't know if it was the Ennis house. It might have been one of the other ones, but I was reading something a couple years ago because another one of his houses was featured in the show Westworld on HBO.
Oh, okay.
But one of his houses in California, I think like just in 2019 or 2018, sold for like multiple $1 million.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so just an interesting little fact there.
Yeah, that's cool. Wow. Let's talk about the rapey scene.
Yes.
Let's get that out of the way. It's the biggest note I have on here.
I have been thinking a lot about this because I've seen so many different explanations online, and obviously, like, part of it is like people were just generally creepier back then. Like, I feel like audiences in the 80s probably didn't think it was that big of a deal. Um,
You want to know what I thought of
uh,
that scene? I thought it was him teaching her what like love slash kissing slash all
yeah,
that
I've
is.
seen that explanation is like
That's how I
it's
took it.
like it was consensual. He was just being forceful because she didn't. He was trying to get her to open up about it, kind of a thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fucking weird.
And then another one is like obviously they're both shaken up because she just killed someone, and like he obviously, even though he like it's his job and what, and like, maybe that's part of why he's an alcoholic. Like you can see after he shoots Zora, like it does affect him
Yeah,
killing these things, even though they're robots.
yeah,
So another explanation I saw was that this was him trying to like help himself get over it, because it's like either Rachel is just a robot, in which case it's not rape, because like can you rape a toaster? Like if
yes,
she's just a machine, then it doesn't matter. Or if he accepts her as being a living thing, then he also has to deal with the fact that he's killing living things.
right. Double whammy right there.
Yeah. So it's a lose-lose for him.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever the meaning behind it is, it did definitely make me feel uncomfortable, made KK feel uncomfortable, and
It was not a
it's
pleasant
it's
scene to
such
watch.
yeah, it's such a I mean, it's a powerful scene because it does happen.
Yeah.
It's not just a theatrical thing. Like it does happen. I think because like everyone usually knows of one or multiple people that have had this happen to them, it strikes harder to where maybe in the 1980s people didn't talk about it. Like if it happened, they just kept silent,
No.
didn't say anything about it. Like the big old Me Too movement. I mean, so many people were exposed from years ago of having been raped. And so, maybe the movie just didn't bother people back then because no one talked about it.
Could be.
They just didn't know about it. Like
Yeah.
live in what's it called? Bliss? No, when you're not aware of something and you just
Ignorance is bliss.
ignorance is yeah, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Wild.
Um, I did really like the soundtrack. I think it probably had a long lasting influence on future sci-fi soundtracks, but like
Yeah.
it's like very, like it's got that noir feel to it, because obviously this movie is like meant to, even though it was made in the 80s, is like more of a 40s movie, like a old detective
Yeah.
film.
That's
Like it's
exactly what
really,
it felt
yeah,
like.
it's trying to give that vibe, and I think the soundtrack really helps with that, but at the same time it's like they're all like synth instruments, and it's like
Yeah.
also super futuristic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it's just the perfect mix. And I didn't look up who the composer was, but great music.
Yeah. Speaking of like background
Actually, I think
noises. Oh,
I think the composer is called Vangelis. Obviously, I don't think that's their real name, but I just remembered in my head. I'm pretty sure that's
impressive. I will say with like background noises, there were a lot of German speakers in this movie.
yeah,
I
that
know
was
they were like, "Oh yeah, like the slum language is a mix of like German, English, Spanish, whatever else, French."
yeah.
But when I heard them, they were literally just speaking German in like a crazy accent.
Yeah, I think there was I guess I didn't pick up any German, but I did notice obviously there was some Japanese. There
A
was
lot of Japanese, yeah.
a little bit of Hungarian, and I mean obviously English, but like yeah, the fact that people in this city, I think it's LA, right? I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it's
Yes, it is. Yeah.
LA.
Same place.
But yeah, everyone in the city just speaks like 8 languages, and so
Just
it's kind of
casually.
just turned into this like weird Creole language kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you like the part where it happened a few times? I think it happened in the beginning and then in the middle-ish, endish portion of it too. When they're looking at images and then like zoom in, and then he's like, what's that word that they say whenever they like make
enhance.
enhance? There was so much enhancing in this
There was
movie.
also the slowest enhancing ever. Like I could not imagine how boring that would be if that was your full-time job.
200
It's
clicks
like
right.
Yeah, you have to like
20 degrees up.
give the machine coordinates, and then it goes like boop 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 boop, and then draws a square, and then it goes chick 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 chick. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And then enhance. And I remember from, I don't know if there's any OGs still listening, from early on in our podcast, that's like Caven's pet peeve with movies when they do the enhancing thing. I remember you got so upset about that. Like
I feel like it
early on.
pisses me off more when it's like a modern movie. Like if it was like it was meant to be taking place now, then I'd be like, that's so fucking fake. But obviously this is meant to be futuristic, so I'm like, I
Let it slide.
I can let it slide for a
Okay,
future
okay,
movie.
Okay. I saw that. I was like, I'll have to talk about this. He's gonna be pissed. Fucking enhancing everything.
What got me though was there's a point where he's like moving and it like goes around a corner. Like he zooms into a mirror, and then in the mirror there's a reflection of something, but then he like tells the camera to shift, and then you can see what's behind that thing. I'm like, how the fuck does that work?
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on. I will say, again, like the futuristic things. I just read an example that I jotted down, like when the snake lady went into her private room to like wash the scales off.
Yeah.
And then like the hair dryer, she like sticks her head like this
It's like
little thing. It's like, I'm like, that's so cool.
Also,
I mean,
Deckard's like undercover voice thing that he was doing was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
He was like,
how did she like figure him out so fast?
Smart.
She just knows.
I imagine in addition to
he also came out with some fucking honkers.
In addition to the enhanced strength, I think the idea is that they're all smarter as well. Because there's also later we see that JF Sebastian has been playing a chess game with Tyrell.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've only beat him once out of all the times we've played because he's so smart. And then Roy gets a checkmate in 2 moves.
And what did he say? He had some time to reflect or something like that. I'm surprised that the doctor, JR, I believe. JF Sebastian?
JF Sebastian.
Yeah.
The person who designs the robot?
Yeah. I'm surprised that he didn't catch on that something was going on that was not normal.
I mean, he obviously he doesn't have any actual friends. He makes all of his friends. So
wait, no, not him. The
Tyrell,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm surprised that Tyrell didn't catch on.
I'm sure he was suspicious, but it sounded like to me like he was just like desperately trying to talk himself out of it. Like he was like, because he said, the brightest stars burn out the quickest. Like he was trying to tell Roy, like, yeah, you're only living for 4 years, but like you've done so much with those 4 years, more than anyone else could do. So like you should be proud of what you've accomplished instead of worrying about the fact that you're gonna die.
Right. He said even if the things that you did were bad, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Speaking of JF Sebastian, though, I thought all of his little like friends were so like delightfully strange. Like they were just so weird.
I think his whole house was delightfully strange. I mean, it was just like there's like random shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Like these guys like
it's definitely like kind of a hoarder apartment.
Oh, for sure. And then like these little guys just like running around and like greeting him when he's at the door.
Yeah.
Like, just running into the wall.
It caught me off guard a few times because there's a couple scenes where like there's obviously it's meant to be like, oh, there's only 2 people in this room, but really there's like 5 people in this room and 3 of them are just pretending to be fake people.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're just like standing in the corner not doing anything, and you're like, this just is so like kind of off-putting but in a fun way.
Yeah. They're just like all like looking around. They're like, what's going on? I think I know what you're talking about. And then that other guy, the stronger Roy comes in behind him, right?
Yeah.
And then makes out with what's her face?
Pris. Also, again, going back to architecture, but the building that was shot in is called the Bradbury Building, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, during the movie, it's all like rainy and dark, but if you look up photos of it like during the daytime, gorgeous building.
Wow.
It's Art Deco, so it's like obviously very over decorative, but yeah, it's great place. I did like that. I kind of enjoyed that Deckard wasn't like a big action hero at the end. Like I feel like a lot of movies like, oh, I'm such a badass, but like Deckard was like scared shitless during that last scene.
Yeah.
He was like,
that's what I was saying. Whenever with the version that I watch, I think I think I heard his thoughts. I
Okay.
think I heard his thoughts. That sounds crazy. Well, I thought I heard the monologue,
Yeah.
and I think in the monologue he was talking about or like thinking to himself of what his thoughts are on why he didn't get killed. Like,
Oh.
oh, like in his last seconds he cared about life more than like killing or something like that. Something around those lines of like the robot saved him not because he liked him or anything like that, but he cared about life more.
Well, and I think this is because the like tagline, I guess, for the Tyrell Corporation is more human than human. And so it makes sense that in the final moments, the robot one would be showing more humanity and saving a life versus Deckard, who the entire movie has just been killing.
Killing. Right, right, right. What did you think about Rachel at the very end we find out that she doesn't have a termination date.
I did not find that out.
Oh,
That's part of just the theatrical cut.
well in my version, yeah, they do like they leave. They do like a cross country road trip
Yeah.
to get out of the city. And that's when like I guess there's a monologue that happens and they're basically just saying that Rachel doesn't have a termination date, so she practically lives out her life is how I took it.
There's also a lot the ambiguity is different in terms of whether or not Deckard is a replicant because I don't
Right.
know
Right.
if I you'll have to tell me if this was in your version, but there is a scene um earlier when Deckard is playing piano. He like dozes off for a bit and has a dream about a unicorn.
Uh-huh.
Did you have a unicorn dream?
I think so, yes.
And then at the end of the movie, Gaff leaves a little origami unicorn on the
On the
ground.
ground. Yeah, yeah. He leaves those origamis everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
And I in the final cut, which I watched, like that's the only reference to it is and there's like a line earlier where Rachel asks, like, have you ever done that test on yourself?
Right.
Um, but I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the theatrical version leaves it a lot less ambiguous. Like they're more definitive with whether or not he is.
Right, right.
Versus in the final cut, it's kind of an open-ended question on whether or not he's a replicant.
Yeah, I think it ended the same way.
Okay.
I always assumed that he wasn't. Yeah, that was it for me.
Yeah, that was my last note as well. So I guess that means we'll move on to trivia.
Let's do it.
The concept art for the movie was drawn by a man named Sid Mead, who was originally hired just to design vehicles and props. However, in his sketches, he included backgrounds for contextualization, and Ridley Scott was so impressed with his work that he asked him to work on designing the environment for the movie as well, and he painted some of the matte paintings that were used in the film. Mead, who was only supposed to be hired for a few days, stayed on production for several weeks for a fee of $1,500 per day,
Wow.
which was one of the factors that caused the movie to go over budget.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so this is just one example of one of Sid Mead's paintings.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that oil?
I don't know. It looks oily.
Damn, yeah, that's beautiful. Very nice.
Very nice.
That's such a budget. That's wild.
The Hero blaster gun used by Harrison Ford was believed to have been lost after production. However, it was displayed at a convention celebrating the 25th anniversary. For 25 years, it was being kept in the dark by a private collector named Jeff Walker, and later was sold to another collector for $270,000 in 2009.
Holy cow.
For a prop gun.
That's insane. Wow, that's crazy. Some of these people really do just go balls to the wall for like collector's items.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like Star Wars is just, I mean, if you have anything collector's item worthy of Star Wars, it's unbelievably expensive.
The landscape in the opening shot was filmed using forced perspective. The miniature for the pyramid was 13 feet deep and 18 feet wide.
Oh, wow. Doesn't that force perspective?
So it's like they rather than having a huge big thing to make something look bigger or smaller, you just put it closer or farther from the camera.
Gotcha.
So you have like all of the smokestacks and stuff up here close, and then you put the pyramid.
How big was the model?
13 by 18.
Wow.
So like still big, but
Big,
like
but not like crazy.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It took 3 hours to glue all of the sequins onto Joanna Cassidy, who played Zora.
Wow. Damn.
Oh, sorry. Also, I'm getting this wrong. It's not the pyramid that was 13 by 18. All of the smokestacks and stuff before the pyramid was 13 by 18.
Okay.
The model of the pyramid was 9 foot square at the base and 2.5 feet high.
Okay. That's pretty neat.
It says it was made out of plexiglass and then painted black. The paint was scratched out where there were supposed to be windows, and then a powerful light was placed inside to show those windows being lit. Because the light was very hot and filming the model took a lot of time, it ultimately caught fire and melted. Fortunately, this happened near the end of the shoot when the necessary shots had been completed.
No way. That's crazy. They didn't have LEDs lights back then.
Yep.
So.
The idea for Roy Batty to release a dove after he dies was also Rutger Hauer's. The dove was supposed to release itself and fly away after Batty's death. However, while filming the scene, the large amount of water used for the rain soaked the dove, making it unable to fly. So instead, it just hopped out of his hand and walked away. So at the end of the movie, the dove that we see flying away is a different dove than the one he was holding.
No way. That's funny. That was like an interesting symbolism there at the end, wasn't it? With the dove.
No. Joanna Cassidy, who played Zora, was at ease with the snake around her neck because it was her pet, a Burmese python named Darling.
Yeah, no thanks.
Harrison Ford was against the idea that Deckard may be a replicant, feeling that it undercut the human story of Deckard discovering his lost humanity. Rutger Hauer agreed. According to Ford, Ridley Scott and he agreed prior to shooting that Deckard was human, but then Scott went and shot it to imply that he could be.
Huh, interesting. It's not a bad idea to put some doubt into the viewers' minds. Keep them on edge.
Deckard only kills replicant women, Pris and Zora. Leon was killed by Rachel, and Roy Batty dies on his own.
So he's a woman killer. Good. Rapist and a women killer. Great guy.
And then this last one, a little on the sadder side, but both Rutger Hauer and his character Roy Batty passed away in 2019.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's sad.
But yeah, that's trivia.
That's some good trivia right there. Good stuff. That was a lot. I can tell you like this movie.
There's a lot of good behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
There's also a lot.
With older movies, though, they all have such good behind the scenes things because there's so much going on, like human development.
There was also a lot of, I didn't write any of this down, but there was like a lot of drama behind, like
really?
a lot of people disagreeing with each other, and like even like the whole thing with Harrison Ford and Ridley Scott disagreeing on whether Deckard is a human or not. Like, it was not the funnest filmmaking experience for a lot of people.
That's crazy.
Which is probably part of the reason it had so many cuts, because people be going back and like, we need to change this.
They made a version. How many versions are there? 7?
7.
They made a version for every group of people that were pissed off.
But yeah, like I said earlier, like even the version that's called the director's cut wasn't created by the director, so he had to go back later and make his own version, which is the final cut.
That's crazy. That makes no sense. Wow, very cool though.
I guess it's time to get wrecked.
It is. I don't have anything to get wrecked about. Oh no, I was not prepared. Okay, do you have a get wrecked thing?
Okay, for my get wrecked.
Looks around.
Bro, you have no idea how often I've been doing that. I guess I'll go ahead and wreck the new Captain America movie. When saw that last week. I'm not going to say anything about it because I already put a video on YouTube. You can go watch that right now, see my opinion on that, but I think it's worth watching, so that'll be my rec.
My rec would be Facebook Marketplace.
All right.
If you guys have not used Facebook Marketplace ever, it's a great place to get all the things you need. We're not sponsored or anything like that. I just enjoy Facebook Marketplace. It will suck you in. You might get addicted every now and then, but it's a lot of fun. I've gotten all my used tools that I just built a bookshelf. I guess I could have said that too. Like last weekend, I built a bookshelf. It's pretty cool. We got some books in there now and plants and stuff like that. But all the tools I bought off Facebook Marketplace. Some were new that they gave to me like for half off.
Nice.
Some were like really used, but hey, I mean, who cares? They still work.
Perfect.
They also sell they sell everything from like clothes to graded Pokemon cards. So
yeah,
I got one of those too.
You have a graded Pokemon card?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. It was the Super Bowl actually, and KK and I made a bet. She started it. She went for the Chiefs, and I went for the Eagles.
Okay.
And our bet was whoever loses has to buy upwards of $50 of like a secret gift thing from Facebook Marketplace. So you have to spend $50 and buy the person that won something from Facebook Marketplace. And because I won, she bought me like a graded card, graded 10, so it's the highest grade.
Yeah.
Of like a Pokemon / Uno like collab, which is pretty cool. It's like a slab. It's so sick.
All right.
Yeah. So if you ever think of it, I thought that was like a cute idea.
That's cool.
So yeah, keep that in mind. That's my rec.
I had a friend in Arkansas that collected Pokemon cards. That man spent so much money on those.
I know. I've spent money on them.
Even like we'd be like on a work trip, and he would like,
You told me about
I have
this.
to go to this comic store, and he'd walk out with like $300 worth of cards. I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah. Dude, they're so cool. I follow this guy on Instagram. He's like, I forget his name currently. But he recently a day ago, I've been watching him for months now, and his cards every time he opens one pack, and it's like, I'll usually shit.
Yeah.
Not even worth the $150 he paid for this one little thing. But yesterday he got like the holy grail of that pack series.
Oh yeah.
And like the one card that he pulled, not graded, is worth $1,200.
That's wild.
Flat rate.
That's wild.
Like, yeah. Anyway, pretty cool stuff. So go check out Facebook Marketplace, and if you ever get something from there, let us know. I'm interested.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and tell your friends and family about us. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and hit the bell icon. Otherwise, leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. You can also follow us on Bluesky and Instagram at CashFanPod. If you want to send us a message, you can DM us, leave a comment, or send an email to casualfanaticpodcast@gmail.com. Luca, what kind of messages they can send us?
You guys can send us anything from what you bought on Facebook Marketplace to a movie you want us to rate, to a show you want us to review, a movie you want us to review. If you have any inquiries, if you have any questions, if you want to give us your input on a movie that we just reviewed potentially, let us know. We're open to any suggestions. Also, if you guys like little sections we do in our podcast, if there's something fun that you think we should add, let us know, and we'll throw it in or give it a shot, or at least think about it.
At least think about it.
At least think about it.
We actually decided no.
And we will let you know on the next podcast if we shoot something down.
All right. Well, on that note, this has been Casual Fanatic. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.